today we're here with Miss Walker. She's a psychology teacher and an English teacher at our school, and we're hoping to interview her about how mental health can be tied into neurology and other things like that, and how she's seen it as a teacher.
So I think a lot of it has to do with the reactions of your nervous system. So anxiety a lot of times will have automatic factors that come into play. So the heart rate increases, the perspiration can increase, your pupils can dilate. There are things that can happen physiologically, even if you aren't aware, maybe, in addition to their behavioral aspects too, like their pacing, hiding, facial expressions, testing down after the enemies, things like that. So some of it's neurological, some of it's behavioral.
Tying into you said you can pick up on how people have anxiety. What is a good way that all students can be educated on this?
I think with some of our social lessons that we teach in classes, especially through advisory, I know we do touch on it a little bit. But the social, emotional indicators, as long as students are aware of those, then they can pick it up on, what their friends are feeling and what they're looking like and can intervene. I think it's about the publication and acknowledgement of those signals.
So, what do you think about anxiety's prominence in school? Do you think it's quite a prominent thing in students, or?
So, yes. Not that I've done any studies on this personally, but before COVID, I feel like anxiety, while an issue and prevalent and all of that, just kind of got exacerbated with COVID and with the isolation of young people. So I see a marked difference between interactions with students prior to COVID and interactions with students post-COVID. I mean, if I were to say a percentage, up to 50% increase of, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think are some pressures that impact student well-being? What are them?
You have the social factors. So obviously family always plays into that. Expectations of family, expectation of culture, expectation of even peer groups. I think you also have the inner anxiety, their own acceptance of where they are in their life. Some of that, social, but it's that expectation, measuring themselves on where they are in the moment. So some of that's academic or social in their relationships with people. Some of that is with the increase of social media, with the increase of internet, with things that I feel like students, especially, their world has grown. So they're no longer concerned with just what they're doing with interaction with people that are immediately around them. So the fact that you have no access to really anybody in the entire world has increased that anxiety, because I think it makes people realize that the world is bigger than themselves in that space. And even though they don't necessarily recognize that outer community is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but really doesn't affect their life. But in the way that we present all of the social media and that interconnectivity, I think it makes people, especially young people, feel everyone can see every flaw or every anxiety that they have. And it just doesn't see it.
So you're saying it kind of increases a lot of comparisons.
Yeah, comparisons and just, I guess, even perspectives. So if I'm in a community in Frisco, Texas or whatever, I have this very specific way to view the world, but bringing in other perspectives maybe that aren't going to actually affect me personally because of this bubble or this place I live in, but still having those perspectives can increase those fears.
So speaking of societal pressure and how that affects one's students' mental health and physical health, how do you think, how can students be more confident in this society? What are some ways that you think that they can be more confident in themselves?
I think repeated exposure, even though that also anxiety inducing, walking through and kind of putting yourself in the position to have those experiences will eventually alleviate some of that anxiety. So if, for example, you're incredibly anxious about speaking in front of groups or whatever, part of working through that, I think, is exposure and exposure therapy of working through it and doing it in such a way that you have growth, as in, like, not necessarily, and I'm just using academics, not necessarily as a grade tied to it, because a lot of times anxiety is kind of tied to that, but if you're really truly afraid of speaking in front of others, then having the exposure in ways that you know are going to be positive, so with the right people, or no grade attached, or if I'm going to take a leadership role somewhere, then maybe I allow myself, hey, this is my group of like 10 friends who are in this club with me, and I really want to work on this, and allowing themselves to have that kind of practice, I guess, with it, or exposure, where it's at a nice safe place.
And then you're talking about social media in your other topics. And so how do you think social media affects students, like, in general, like teachers?
So you know how they talk about the frontal lobe not being developed and all that kind of stuff. You hear that repeatedly, but in reality, it's a discernment thing. And I think a lot of students are under the age of like 25 just don't have that ability to discern what is truly targeted towards them, and what is intended. So messages can be just blurted out to anybody at any point in time without any thought as to who is listening to that message. And so if you're not cognitively developed enough to understand that message and not take it personally, then people just kind of absorb that. And I think that's the biggest thing with your age. You have like this benefit of having a more worldly view than anybody, my age, or even somewhere between our ages, that ability to see things in a bigger perspective. But I also think it's limiting to you, and it's almost too big for you to have to deal with at your age.
So also one more thing, how does gratitude, sleep, and self-care relate back to anxiety?
Do you think that those could kind of help the students feel less anxiety and help them just live a healthier lifestyle?
Yes. So there is a whole new field of positive psychology. If you investigate positive psychology, because it's a field, that whole concept of gratitude and creating, trying to remember exactly how it's phrased, but essentially facing each day with the gratitude, specifically identifying something to be grateful for, looking at the positive aspects of life and the positive repercussions, even though things that are bad consequences, but looking at what could be good out of that has actually been scientifically proven with brain research and all of that to be best for you doing.
Yeah, that was well. Thank you so much. Thank you for this interview.